Welcome to CS 225. I am your instructor, Robert McMillen. We are on Module 5, and we are going to cover Chapter 8, Product Evaluation Strategies and Support Standards. Our objectives will be how product and support standards emerged, common tools and methods for evaluating and selecting computer products, information resources and decision-making tools for evaluating and selecting computer products, typical product support standards, how organizations develop and implement product standards. User support role and product standards. Support workers often have expertise to evaluate competing products that other workers may not have. It eliminates duplication of effort if workers individually evaluate products. Support workers can act as a liaison between users and IT staff to represent the viewpoints of each group. How product standards emerged? Well, let's go back a little bit. Product standards are lists of hardware, peripheral, operating system, network, application software, products selected to meet the needs of end users. During the 1980s, we discovered a lot of incompatibilities among computer products, and that was very common. Vendors cited incompatible platforms as a marketing advantage. So the problems caused by computer product incompatibility. They had limited opportunities to transfer and share data among users. It was a lot harder for computers to talk to each other. Large inventories of parts required to repair incompatible PCs. So instead of having, say, for instance, a floppy drive for one manufacturer that works on all PCs, you had to have a different floppy drive for each one. Increased difficulty to train and equip hardware service technicians to repair different platforms. It took a lot longer to try to train all those different service people to do multiple different products that all did the same thing. User skills difficult to transfer from one system to another. Sometimes the systems were just so different there was no way to transfer those skills. Increased cost to support incompatible systems. To reduce acquisition and support costs during the 1980s, companies began to get together. They began to standardize on a few selected hardware platforms. They began to adopt standard operating systems and limit the choice of application software to a few standard application packages in each software category. So we used to have a lot of different operating systems, and those sort of all got consolidated as time went on, along with the software that was installed on them. Product evaluation, the process of researching and analyzing computer product features, capabilities, and suitability to solve user-specific needs, sometimes called Q&A, but that can also be used for other things. Product evaluation process, collect product information, test, compare, and evaluate advantages and disadvantages of competing products, and make decisions or recommendations. So after we collect all the information, we run the tests, then we have to decide whether or not to use it. Issues in product evaluation. Does the product perform as advertised? Is it better than an existing product? Compatible with existing hardware, network, and operating systems configurations? Does it meet the needs? Increase productivity? Is it cost effective? Likely to become an industry standard or fall along the wayside? Is it preferable to upgrade now or later? Are there some sort of incentives, cost, price-wise or feature-wise? How is the operation? Is it stable? Resources available to help evaluate computer products. You've got vendor literature, demonstration and evaluation versions, product reviews and comparison, opinion of industry experts, and opinions of colleagues who have experience. Industry trade periodicals that publish product comparisons. There's all different types of ones out there. CNET is a big one, owned by CBS. InfoWorld, Macworld, Maximum PC. And you can also get some product evaluations from these companies. For instance, CNET has download.com as one of the biggest, but unfortunately they also bundle in a lot of spyware and other garbage software that you end up having to avoid in order to make things worse for you. Software evaluations, they allow you to permit support staff to try out a product's features and assess a product's suitability to meet user demands, distributed via CD or internet download. CD is given way to DVD, and DVD is eventually giving way to internet downloads. May have limited features, may operate for a limited trial period. Decision-making tools, industry standard or best-selling products, Products used by competitors, benchmarks, weighted point evaluation method, request for proposal, and acknowledged subject criteria. Let's talk about those in depth. So, industry standard products, computer products that are market leaders in sales, also called horizontal market applications. Not a standard defined by anybody, but they are used by a lot of people. The advantage is can reduce support costs, likely to be targeted by trade book publishers. There's going to be a lot of training information available, such as Windows. Windows would be a horizontal market. Disadvantages may not meet the specialized needs of some users. Standards based on market share happens over time, such as what we're seeing with regular PCs at client sites are now giving way to thin clients to go into a terminal server. Accounting software illustrations, small businesses likely to select a mass market accounting package such as QuickBooks. So that would be a horizontal market. Medium to large scale businesses likely to evaluate and select accounting software based on specialized needs. Do they have the ability to log in from multiple locations, special tax handling, and international business? Very large scale businesses likely to select a different package, one that can be modified and customized to meet unique accounting requirements. So MAS 200 might be a popular one for medium-sized business, whereas MAS 500 might be used for large-scale businesses, and there's other products as well. Adopting industry standard or best-selling products, get user input before selecting the software. So find out from other people how it works. Find out which products end users have experience with. Identify the advantages and disadvantages of competing products for specialized tasks, and learn whether users have preferences among products. Competitors have already researched the technology marketplace and identified strategic reasons for adopting products, especially in niche markets. These are also referred to as vertical markets. That's what we typically call them in the industry, is vertical markets. Software that is highly specialized for a specific industry. Examples, software for automobile insurance or veterinarians. So let's use another example. So let's say the automobile industry is a horizontal market. Almost everybody has a car. However, Toyotas and Fords are vertical markets, so those are only specialized for a couple of different manufacturers. So you'll see the same thing when it comes to software. There's software in QuickBooks that's designed for everyone, but you can get vertical modules that help people who are into estimating or into other types of vertical markets, like construction. You can analyze strengths and weaknesses of products that competitors use. Benchmark. Benchmark is an objective test used to compare the capabilities of competing products. So you set them all up to use the exact same test and you see how they perform. You use objective evaluation criteria that are unbiased and you eliminate extraneous variables that could bias the results. Common benchmark criteria are speed, hardware speed, storage capacity, user productivity. Does it make things run better for the company? Vendors that provide hardware and software benchmarks, business application performance, or BAPCO. Passmark software, standard performance evaluation corporation. So these different vendors can provide software testing for benchmarks. So steps in a benchmark project. Number one, define the criteria to evaluate. What is it you're trying to do? Are you trying to get better speed? Are you trying to get more storage? What is it? Define a unit of work to measure. So you need to have a unit of work that will be the same across all the different software. Eliminate extraneous variables, such as you use the same computer or computer type, use the same application software, and then use the same paper type. Run tests with competing printers. Try different printer models, see what happens. Evaluate the test results. Which is the fastest printer? Weighted point evaluation method. This is something that will show up on some quizzes. Uses several evaluation criteria of predefined importance to arrive at a numerical score for each product, also called the Kepner-Trigo method. The goal is to make the evaluation and selection process as objective as possible. Treat competing products equally, eliminate favoritism, and force evaluators to specify in advance the important factors in the evaluation. May be legally required for certain public organizations. Steps in the weighted point evaluation method. Decide on the evaluation criteria. Determine the importance of each criterion. Rate each product against all evaluation criteria. compute the average rating for each criterion for each product, weight the product ratings, compute the total rating for each one, and compare the product ratings. Examples used in weighted point evaluation method: hardware, software, end user, support, availability, and cost. And there's some examples there. Let's look a little bit more closely at the weighted point evaluation example. So on the left-hand side, we see the criterion, which is hardware configuration, software, vendor reputation, vendor support. And then you have to evaluate what is the importance. So you put in the percentage that's important. When you evaluate, you can do, we have two different products here. System X evaluation shows a 90 under hardware configuration and a 70 under system. And you go on down the line until you add up all the points. And you multiply them times the importance, the percentage of importance, and then you get your final score. System Y, in this case, beats out System X. The weighted point evaluation method can be used with more than two products, as many evaluation criteria is desired, and a spreadsheet software module is available. Request for proposal, RFP, also can be confused with RFQ, which is request for quote. So sometimes you'll see an RFQ instead of an RFP, and they'll end up meaning pretty much the same thing. The proposal tends to be longer and sometimes includes price, but not always. The quote tends to be shorter, but always includes price. So let's talk about the RFP, which is a product selection or competitive bidding procedure. Uses objective criteria to select among products proposed by vendors, often used as the basis for awarding a contract to provide computer products. So most public agencies will put out an RFP whenever they need any kind of computer support, and they need to put that out to multiple companies to let them bid on that particular quote. Steps in the RFP process: conduct a user needs assessment, go on site, check it all out, develop a purchase specification, define decision criteria, the importance of each criterion, write an RFP document, send the RFP to prospective vendors, receive their vendor proposals, analyze and evaluate vendors' responses, and then select a vendor and award the contract. Some RFPs could take as little as a week, and some can take several months based on the size. Subject evaluation criteria: non-objective factors not directly related to the fit between product features and user needs. They are based on personal relationships, convenience, personal preferences, and traditional practices. So sometimes if you know somebody, you will have a better chance at getting a contract than if you don't. And what I've found is when you send in an RFP to a company you don't know, more times than not, they've already decided who they're going to use. They're just going through the motions of the RFP. So it's not a bad idea to ask up front if they already have a relationship with the vendor that is also bidding on the process. If that's the case, you may want to even talk to that vendor or talk to other people within the company to see if you even have a shot at that particular RFP. Why use acknowledged subjective criteria? Lengthy personal relationships with vendor, partnership agreement, low regard for competing vendors. Objective criteria, including price, may be less important. Larger organizations often use objective selection criteria. Smaller organizations often use more subjective selection criteria. So the larger organizations, they tend to be less personal, and the smaller ones more personal. Product support standards help control user support costs by limiting the number of hardware and software options users can choose. May offer options as a balance between two extremes. One size fits all, select anything you want. Often adopted by larger organizations with a substantial investment in computer technology. So let's give an example here of benefits of support standards. The benefit of this policy at Honolulu Community College: simplify the hardware acquisition and upgrade process. We've got several things planned effectively for introducing new products, encourage a more consistent environment. Criteria used to evaluate the products for supported status: industry-wide acceptance, number of customers who required the software, number of departments represented. So you got to have a big customer base. In the summer of 2010, the desktops chosen were Dell Optiplex 780 Mini Tower with these particular specifications. Laptops was the chosen the Dell Latitude E6410, Should not be purchased as a desktop replacement because, of course, the cost is higher. And it shows all these different. How organizations develop computer product and support standards. The standards are based on an organization's computer culture, historic computer purchase traditions. Product Standards Committee is a group that defines computer product standards and coordinates their use. It's composed of support specialists, end users, technical IT staff, and managers. Changes in computer product standards. Changes in computer standards may be met with user resistance. A lot of times people hate change, but they also hate their old computer. So it's a double-edged sword in that case. Changes in standards should be discussed with users and involve users in decisions. Don't just decide what the user wants. You've got to sit down in a change management meeting and make that decision together. Adoption and implementation of product and support standards are influenced by investment in existing hardware and software, continual introduction of new products, services, and product upgrades. Conversion to new standards. Sometimes you have new standards that are required in your company as your company changes and evolves. It can result in loss of employee productivity during the transition period. You've got to keep that in mind, and can be phased in over time. You can do it all at once, or you can phase it in over time. If you do it over time, it will cost more, but you'll likely have less issues. New products offer technical improvements, another reason to upgrade. New products offer features that improve user productivity, so this is definitely an advantage. And user preferences change over time. New products offer cost savings, so when you're more efficient, things can be better on cost. New products may be compatible with changes in industry standards. So as the industry standards changes, a lot of times the software will change with it. And new products become more popular and old products fall away. Adopting or modifying technology standards requires analysis and evaluation of products and services, triggers potential support costs increases for installation, upgrades, training, documentation, etc. The increase during the transitions between old and new standards. Reasons to convert or not to convert. Frequently cited reasons to adopt. It has new features. It's the latest innovation. The vendor may discontinue support for the old one. That's a big one, because even if you decide to keep the old product, you need support. There are also reasons not to adopt. The new features are not worth the cost. You have a substantial investment in existing technology, a substantial investment in peripherals and software that work with it, and new technology is not as stable as the existing technology. Technology changes that are likely to impact products and support standards during this decade. Universal Serial Bus 3.0 has been released and is becoming more widely adopted. 802.1n has been something that a lot of companies are using instead of G, and of course even N is now it's going to be replaced by AC. Voice recognition input is a big deal, especially with ADA compliance. You have to decide Windows 7 versus 8, Microsoft 2007, 2010, and of course now 2012, and Cloud Office 365 versus some of the older versions. Adoption of Web 2.0 social networking policies, so people aren't wasting their time doing that all day long. Acceptable use guidelines, policies adopted by an organization about how users are permitted and not permitted to use computer systems. You've got to have a policy in place, and you've got to have them sign it. Behavior prohibited by organizational policies, use of email for personal messages, or illegal behavior. All right, we discussed in this chapter in order to reduce computer product and support costs, and user support staff evaluations. Support staff use a variety of information resources, aids to product evaluation selection decisions, product standards, organizations who adopt acceptable use policies to communicate. So all these things in Module 5, and we'll be looking forward to Module 6, where we'll learn some new technologies.